military types poking around.
Nadine's guys?
Yep. Son of a bitch. Yeah. Looks like they found an old colony outpost.
But the wrong one, right?
That's the good news.
And that means it's bad news.
The only route to the volcano is straight through them.
No, shit. We do have to drop them.
What's the play here, Nathan? Just follow my lead.
Hello and welcome to another Hot Chips Year Nah, where we give you our thoughts on a game. Should you be playing it? What did we think? Today, we are talking about Uncharted 4.
Is A Thief's End.
Yeah. Is Uncharted 4 any good?
Is it any good?
Is it any good?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
I've
for
heard it
today?
hasn't been getting very good reviews.
Terrible reviews.
Yeah.
Don't come to us for your news.
fours.
clearly.
Yeah, 4s and 5s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
must be really bad. Anyway, Jordan, how much time have you spent with the game?
I finished it.
You finished
I finished
it.
the main story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good?
Yes.
How much time have you spent with the game?
finished the main
also
story.
finished the main story.
Amy, how much have you played?
I've not started it. Probably won't play it.
Cool.
That's why I'm hosting.
But that's why we now convince you whether or not you should play it.
Yes.
And you've played through all of the 3 others?
No. 2 and 3.
2 and 3. I even played the original.
I haven't played
Right.
the first one. I played half
Alright.
the first one,
Oh, okay.
but not finished it.
Right, and I've played through every game in the series now.
Yeah.
And if you would like to see my entire Uncharted experience, there'll be a video below of
Yeah.
me playing
Which
the
is-
first like
which
2
is
minutes
good.
of every one of them, and it's bad.
It's great.
Have you played the Vita one?
I played half of the Vita.
I liked the Vita one.
I did not enjoy the Vita
Interesting.
one. Yeah. But let's talk about
Anyway.
Uncharted 4.
Back to the game at hand.
Yeah.
So Jordan, what did you think of Uncharted 4?
Okay, so here's the way I want to talk about this today.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree, the game is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We did a video briefly about putting numbers on things, so I'll stick an 8.8 on it.
8.8.
8.8 on it. Because the game does a lot better than any other game has ever done anything. But because of those good parts of the game, the parts that are not good stand out and they really annoy me. So I'm going to be Mr. Devil's Advocate in this video and talk about all the shit I don't like about the game.
Can I just say that there were things that weren't the best in Uncharted 4?
Yeah.
But if they were in any other game, they would have been great.
That's basically what you just said, right?
Well, you
Like,
just- yeah,
its greatness
yeah,
is almost its own detriment because
Yeah.
it really highlighted what
Correct.
was
Yeah.
imperfect, right?
So it's still, as a base game, if you took out all those amazing moments,
Yeah.
it still would have been a great game.
So let's start the video a bit more positive about the things that were amazing, 10 out of 10 about the game. And they were the set pieces.
The set pieces are, as always, amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
like
Yeah.
so good. Like this game would be worth buying no matter who you are, what kind of games you like, just to play through these certain scenes
Yeah.
in this game.
And even from an observer's point of view, even if
Yeah.
you're not a person who is playing the game itself, if you've got a partner or someone in your family that does play them, it would be easy to sit back and watch and enjoy it.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like that the scene from E3, where they start off at the top of the tower and then there's like a car chase down the hill, he gets
Yeah.
straight behind it. That entire sequence, like it's much longer than that, is so good.
Yeah.
Like that if the game could be just those kind of sequences and telling a story throughout, that would be the best game ever made. The thing is, like, you can't do that because those bits are expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the distance you actually travel in that scene, like you go through like a city and a half, basically. Like that would have cost so much to do and take so long. So it's unrealistic to think of a game that could be entirely like that.
Yeah. So many little ambient things happening around, like people
Yeah.
hanging out their washings and
Right.
like
So in terms of
construction and all this kind of stuff. There's
environmental
just everything is chock-a-block
Yeah.
full of stuff, full of something that's happening.
Sounds cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
So that's its positives.
Yeah,
Set
the other
pieces.
positive, I'll give it another positive.
That'd be great.
So
Two positives.
The game is like it's an exploratory game. It's
Yeah.
you're going adventuring, so they've done that really well. The bits where you're in the car and you're like trailblazing through like different areas and that sort of stuff, very cool. Feels like you're actually trailblazing.
I thought the Jeep sections were going to suck. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way that the vehicle moments in this game are going to be any good other than the set pieces. But even just driving around and trying to figure out, I can't go up there, so now I've got to try and find another place for the Jeep to go. And the conversations that take place when you do try and go somewhere that you can't, it all feels like it's real. It feels like it's, even those moments feel kind of cinematic and movie-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I really enjoyed was what they've done with the rock climbing.
So all I've heard about is the rock climbing.
They Tomb Raided it.
Did they? I
Right.
haven't played Tomb Raider.
So they added that little pick that you can use to help climb up
Yeah,
extra
but-
Right.
areas.
So
in
I
Tomb
remember
Raider, could you do the hand thing?
Oh no. So it's basically what I'm saying when it takes it from Tomb Raider is there's an item that Lara Croft has that you'll see some sort of speckled wall that you can jump, attach it to, and then continue climbing. And so they've put that into Uncharted.
Right.
So
Well, that was great.
So that's okay, but like just the flow of the rock climbing
Yeah.
is much better in this game.
do you know what it reminded me of?
What?
In We Fit You, there's a rock climbing segment where you use the controllers to kind of
really?
aim and grab and then aim and grab and pull yourself up. And that's what that reminded me of. I was like, oh, they borrowed this from We Fit You.
So yeah, I mean, in the other, that's weird.
That is weird. That's a weird.
I'm sure they did.
In the other games, I've always found like the rock climbing's been alright, but it's
Yeah.
always been like a means to an end. In this
Yeah.
one, I really enjoyed those bits of just going around, climbing some rocks.
Sounds like rock climbing the whole time.
Yeah.
And they gave you multiple paths as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. So you kind
Yeah.
of chose which way you want to go up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, can I start getting negative?
Cool. I want to continue talking about just the multi-path thing first.
Okay.
So even in the all the other sort of Uncharted games, it was very linear. You just basically follow the path from A to B.
Yes.
Every now and then you might go around a tree. You can choose to go left around a tree or right around a tree. This kind of made me feel like I'm going to go this way, but what happens if I go that way? And so you go the other way, and it ends up a completely different way to where you're supposed to go. But they both kind of do, and they take you through unique areas to get
Oh,
to
that would
that
be
point.
so
So you
frustrating.
can, it's a little less linear
Yeah.
while still being
I'm
linear.
not into that.
And it gave them good ways to, with Tomb Raider, you might stumble upon a puzzle with a tomb, and that you could go in and get something.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bit more of that. You can go, I wonder what's off this way, and make your way through to this area that's kind of set up that you could easily have missed.
Oh, okay, I see. Right.
And it would just have like one of the collectible treasures in there.
Oh, okay, cool.
So again, they kind of borrowed a little bit from that Tomb Raider, but it was something that I felt finally gave those
teams
treasures.
got together,
Yeah.
made sweet games. Would be
What?
great.
I'm glad you said games.
Would be excellent.
Naughty Dog don't need any help.
They don't need help.
I didn't say anyone needed help.
Although, like I said, they have borrowed from Tomb
Yeah.
Raider, so help wouldn't be terrible.
Make
Anyway,
it
let's get on to your negative.
Okay, my disappointment in the game is ready to come out. I should have written some notes. I'm not sure how I'm going to attack this.
Sure.
I want to first start with, I think that this game suffers from its own success into the fact where now it doesn't really know what it is. Like, I feel like when the first Uncharted came out, it was very much a story-driven third-person shooter.
Right.
And then it started, like, everyone's like, me, like, cool game. And then, like, the more that they've released them, the more cinematic the games have been getting.
Yeah.
You know, the more they are about these awesome set pieces and these amazing, like, events that happen. And the less it kind of becomes about that third-person shooter. So I think this has come to a head in this game where every time that I was forced into gameplay, it felt disjointed and I was like, shit, I don't want to do this again. Like, I was in the story, we were discovering places, and all of a sudden, it's a battle. And I'm like, this makes no sense with the story.
The long grass appeared.
Yeah, the long grass is there. Like, I can stealth now. There's stealth symbols. You know, there was one bit in the game where you kill like 40 people, and then you go to this next scene where he's got one person at gunpoint, and it's like, we don't kill people. And it makes no sense. And it's like, you just mowed down like 1,000 people with a machine gun. And like, so every time I was forced into combat, I felt like I was playing a separate game. Like, it broke the experience for me. And like, why are games like that? They shouldn't be like
I feel
that.
like we're saying that a lot in reviews lately. Like, there is kind of, I think lots of games are experiencing that same kind of dichotomy, right? Where they're like, we now can do all these other things, which are really cool, but people are used to doing the shooting thing. And like,
Yeah,
how do we
that's
make
it.
a
I would have
nice
liked to have
balance?
seen less shooting.
Yeah.
But I really
And
liked...
there wasn't even that much shooting.
No, but I
So,
would have
like-
liked to have seen that even more removed.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, did it need shooting at all? Like,
I would have been happy if they went completely stealth with this one.
Yeah.
Because the parts that I really enjoyed
I've got
was...
some problems with those stealth scenes.
The one thing I didn't like was that, there's grass. I
Yeah.
know that there's going to be a combat now.
Yeah.
And instantly you could get into stealth. I like the
And
fact that...
the whole heads-up display changes when you like walk. Like, you take a step and then the gun shows up and you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
there's gonna be guys here. Like,
Yeah. And then there was something I really enjoyed about the fact that if people are firing at you, if you can run out of their line of sight and hide in grass, they lose you. I like that. And then you can make your way up around behind them and take them out. But I was dying for like an Assassin's Creed style whistle, so you could kind of alert them to come your way. There was none of that. And there was so often people like moving in areas that wouldn't get close enough to the long grass or wouldn't come through the long grass. They'd be like, I wish there was some way I could trick you over to this area.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
it was just not in there.
One of the other things that just really annoyed me about the combat and the stealth was that, like, you could stealth, go around the guys, and get to the point where you needed to go. But then the game was like, no, you actually need to go and kill all the guys. Like,
No,
you can't.
I don't think you had to kill
Yeah,
the
a lot of
guys.
the time, like, the exit would be blocked off until you'd mowed everyone down.
Oh.
And then you'd stealth around, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm going to attack them now. But this time, by the time you've done this, you're either behind them or right in the middle of combat. And so you're in a worse position to start combat.
That's
So
interesting
you might as well
because
go back to the start and just start mowing everyone down.
there were numerous times that I specifically left people alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like there was one where you're trying to your Jeep, and it's kind of an open area with some buildings, and all I did was just get to the Jeep and drove off. I didn't kill anybody. I stealthed my way to the Jeep. I got into the Jeep. I drove off.
Probably wouldn't have been a
Nothing.
practical reason why the Jeep would not work.
Yeah, well, and,
Although, same with the
but there are other areas in the third act where it's got the jungle setting back
Yeah.
again, and I just left people alive and just got out of there.
See, interesting. So I would have I felt like I
Difficulty
tried
settings?
that. No, he would have been okay. That's the
I
other
played
thing.
normal. I played normal.
I started on normal,
Yeah.
and I just got so frustrated by the end of it that like one man could take a whole machine gun round to the face that I was like, and
Headshots were instant kills.
no, not for the guys that are wearing like two helmets.
Well, because they've got helmets
Yeah,
on.
but it was dumb. Like I just felt like
They've got helmets on.
Uncharted is one of those games where when you die, it doesn't feel justified. Like you've either jumped onto something that wasn't a platform that looked like a platform, and you're like, that was dumb. That looked like where I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
Yeah,
in this game, the loading was quite fast.
There's
But-
not a single loading
no,
screen in the game.
No, so that was not as much of a problem. And the other thing is like, I got shot by the machine gun, like the shotgun guy, who's like for some reason just like a god of eating bullets.
Have you seen the armor that the shotgun
Yeah, but,
guys have?
like-
Like they have so much armor.
I just don't feel like
You need to lob a grenade, knock the helmet
yeah.
off, and then
See, but like that felt like to me that wasn't what I was doing.
yeah, I think that's a bit of
So towards about the last hour and a half of the game, I switched the difficulty to easy, and I wish I had done it from the start because I just felt like it made the whole game flow faster and it made more sense. Like because it's an RPG kind of right, so you are Nathan Drake. Like we're not it's not an expert, it's like a role playing game. You're Nathan Drake. You want to be him and like go through the thing. And I feel like he's not screwing around for half an hour trying to like kill all these guys. He's bang, bang, bang and through. So when I put the game on easy, I was bang, bang, bang and through, and it made the story seem to flow better.
See, that's interesting. For my Nathan Drake, I see him as quite a passive guy, like going around sneaking past people and like not using his guns. My Nathan Drake barely used guns. He didn't experiment with all of the numerous different weapons. He stuck with his pistol and like an assault rifle and barely used them.
I totally feel like this in Tomb Raider as well. Like
Yeah.
you can play Lara Croft very differently, and I think that's probably good.
Yeah. So I had no problem with the difficulty being a bit harder because I only engaged when I had to engage. And in that case, it was really slow and methodical instead of just running through and killing one. Which is interesting because Uncharted 1, there's this really awesome hand-to-hand mechanic where you want to like soften them with bullets as you're running towards them and finish them with a combo mechanic. And they've gotten rid of that completely. To it really being you want to get behind them to stealth kill them, or you want to just shoot them from behind cover.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what the mechanics of that is anymore. But let's talk about story now.
Let's move on.
I've got things to say about the story, and you've got things to say
Are
about the story.
we approaching spoiler zone area?
No, I don't.
Nah.
I don't think
We're gonna
we'll.
go spoiler free.
I think we can go
We can.
spoiler free.
Most people know the basics of the story by this point. What I found really interesting is that Nathan Drake has a brother. There's something that's never been mentioned in any of the other games, including 3, where we see his past as a young boy. There's no mention of the brother. Sully knows the brother. Everyone but Elena knows the brother exists. What I find really interesting, and this is something that a lot of people may not know, is that the original idea for the Uncharted movie that Sony was talking about was that the Uncharted movie was about Nathan Drake and his family of treasure hunters. And everyone people that heard the news was all up in arms, but Nathan Drake doesn't have any family, there's no sort of family treasure hunting. And then all news of that disappeared, and we now hear,
Random
years
brother.
later, that there is now a random brother
And
that
his
Nathan
and,
Drake
oh, that might be
has.
spoilers, so I can't
Yeah,
say
well,
that.
yeah.
But family
Yeah.
hunters.
And so I can't help it. There was a bit of let's get this into the games, so now that we can make the movie.
And it was dumb.
Right.
It was dumb.
I started off hated it,
Yeah.
but by midway through I was completely bored, and I thought
Did
the
you-
relationship
did
with the
you-
brother was fantastic.
I never once grew to care for the brother.
I loved him.
He was like, who's this guy the whole time? He looks like he's like some slick Rick from like working on your car. He's kind of doing dodgy stuff out back.
That's the whole thing. You're meant to not kind of trust him, right?
Yeah, but like you didn't care about him at all. Like I just didn't care about him at all, and like it ruined like the backstory from the other games of who Nathan Drake was. You know, this orphan kid growing up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's like not so much of an orphan kid growing up. He had like all these like
He had a brother up into his 20s.
yeah, up in like the first scene of the game. First scene, I think, is
On the boat.
spoilers for the first scene of the game. Sorry, second scene.
Right.
When they're like together in this prison.
Sure.
They're like what, mid-20s?
Yeah, yeah.
So they still know each other up
They-
until
right
they're
into
like
their 20s.
mid-20s,
Yeah.
and it's like you were never like alone growing up. That whole perception is ruined now. For
Although
me.
he kind of was, right? Because his brother wasn't in the orphanage with him. His brother had left the orphanage, and he had left Nathan in the orphanage.
Yeah, but like
for a
from
little
like
while.
I guess like 16 to 20, like what were they?
But
doing
we're
for
kind of.
Anyway,
Like, anyway.
specifics.
Anyway, let's get down to in a game that is so driven by its story mechanics and this big adventure. The story was uninspiring.
I loved it.
It was just by the numbers, a treasure hunt, no twists or turns, boring. And then like
And
the
I
story,
completely disagree.
I hated the story. Like the story was fine if no one had ever written that thing before. But if you've seen National Treasure, it was just nothing.
But I mean, it's an Uncharted game. It was always going to be about him going to find the lost city of something.
Yeah.
And that there was going to be people fighting him to get there. And the thing is, the thing I liked about the story...
By the numbers.
No, but that's the
if
thing.
you played
they've got-
one Uncharted game, you'd played this one.
But that's the thing I liked about it. It was a way more personal Nathan Drake story. It was about his brother coming back and convincing him to go against what he had agreed upon with Elena from number 3. Pulling
Which
him,
he did in number 3.
Pulling him in
The
two
exact
directions.
same story as number 3.
To a point where I was actually concerned that was going to be the end of the relationship with Elena. And they made a great scenes at the start of the game to show how close Nathan and Elena had become.
Yeah.
And that's why it was way more personal. I don't want to go into spoilers too far, but it gets to a point where Elena's like, I've done this so many times that I wasn't going to do it this time. I wasn't going to come save you this time.
The story is the best when Elena's in it.
Which is what the whole game is about.
But she's not in it that much.
But it's about all of that, the direction that Nathan has pulled in makes those scenes with Elena what they are.
Yeah.
Without those scenes, there wouldn't have been those scenes with Elena.
But they could have just made like an Uncharted rom-com. Like, this is the adventure story.
And that's enough talking about that. I feel like we're getting quite specific in the story here. You enjoyed the story.
I
you
really
did not
enjoyed
enjoy
the
the
story.
story.
I thought it was a fine story, but it was by the numbers, no twists, no turns.
Right.
I think because they lost their lead writers before the game, and I
Yeah.
think they suffered from that.
Right.
And so instead of doing anything risky, they just said, let's just play it safe. He's trying to find a treasure, and he goes on an adventure to find
Whereas
the treasure.
you
and
felt
nothing
like there was
happens.
a personal connection.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that leading up, might be a spoiler, but like, most of our year nows delve somewhat into
little bit,
spoilers.
yeah.
So if you don't want to know anything about nearing the end of the game, you might want to cut it off now and we'll give it our, I don't know, should we give it?
That's okay. I'll say there's spoilers in
Okay, cool.
down below.
And I've already forgotten what I was going to say. No, so it leaves a very open end, right?
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they've said this is going to be the last Uncharted game. It kind of opens it up where his brother ends up with Sully, and there could very well be Sully adventures.
I'll play Sully Adventures. I don't like the brother. I would never play a game starring the brother.
And then there's the daughter now as well, which they could very much go off and make a Tomb Raider-esque
great.
game with the daughter. So it's like, it's the last game, but is it really?
I hope it is.
The other thing that I just remembered what I was going to say before. The fact that up until the end, I was so certain someone was going to die. Did you ever get that feeling? Like there were so many moments where it's kind of like, be careful.
I think
I mean,
like,
it's
And,
you again.
and you're like, oh god, someone's gonna die. Is Elena
No,
gonna die?
I
Is
didn't-
Nate
no.
gonna die? And that final boss fight,
yeah.
I thought it was gonna end with Nate dying. So it made it that very interesting because again, he'd left Elena at the end
Yeah.
after saying, look, I'm not gonna do this anymore, but I need to go and get my
Well,
brother.
I almost got done in. This is like spoiler. We're going in major.
We're going in
here.
spoilers now.
I almost got done in when Elena was playing dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that would have been awesome. Have some nuts writers and stick with something.
Well, they said that they were going to end it in a way that was going to upset some people.
Yeah,
and
but they didn't.
so I went through going, someone's going to die. Who's going to
Yeah.
die? Are they going to do the cop out and have the brother die and that's or will
They didn't even
will
do
Nate-
that.
No,
No, they had like no guts in the story.
I wanted someone to die,
And
even
how,
though I was
like-
dreading it in the fight throughout the final act.
The final straw for me was the fact that, again, the lost city, the treasure, is buried for the third time in a row.
It was always
And no
gonna be
one
that.
gets the treasure. And it's like,
I guess the
again it happens.
I guess the twist
Go
this
get
time.
a digger and go back. Like, it wasn't, you could still get there.
I suppose, and there's no army fighting you this time if you just went back now.
Yeah, it's just silly. Like,
I think it's time for final thoughts on the game.
There was no supernatural thing this time, which I guess is a twist.
Which I think actually would have been better if it did have that.
Oh, but there would have been just buy the books what all the other ones did.
No, but that it offers some like variety, right?
What do you give it, Reagan?
It's easy year for me.
An easy year?
Easy year.
You're also giving
As
it
I
a
said,
year.
like the one set piece, one set piece is good enough to buy that game.
Right.
Is it as good as Uncharted 2? No.
No.
Uncharted 2 was amazing, but it is still better than 3. It's still better than 1.
I started out with a year, but all your like just discussion
No,
of
I loved
minutia
it.
made me kind of like, nah.
It's so good.
But I still
so
want to
good.
play it. So I will
I'd like to
give it a
talk to
year.
one more thing before we go because it was a really cool fact of the game.
The Easter egg that
Yeah.
everyone loves.
So, and the way they did it as well. So there was an
Yeah.
Easter egg, which it was like, it was one level from Crash Bandicoot. The scene where he's chasing the boulders behind him, like one of the iconic levels from the game. So you go through, you play that. Later on in the game, they remake that level, but you're Nathan Drake getting changed by a truck like through the city, and the way they do it is just so good. And you're just looking at it going, look how far they've come, creating the same level, whatever it is, 10, 15 years apart.
Probably 20 years apart.
Yeah, it was so cool to see.
It is very cool.
And I love just how they revealed that whole Crash Bandicoot stuff as well.
Yeah.
It was everything about it was just fantastic.
Are they teaching Crash Bandicoot for E3?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
They don't own it.
I know they don't own it, but like it could be like a
A joint
Everyone's in
collaboration,
cahoots.
that'd be cool. Some kind of the Crash Bandicoot collection I would buy.
Yeah. And as an adventure game fan from way back, the Monkey Island references were fantastic. There's one of the pirates, and where it's got all the portraits of the pirates, and it's got their names next to them. One of them, the name's been burnt off, and it looks exactly like Guybrush Threepwood from Monkey Island 2.
Oh, okay.
And there's some other just little references throughout the game as well. Like his sigil was a little monkey. It was just fantastic. So that's
cool.
awesome. That's awesome.
All right.
So yes.
So basically, it's getting a year from
Yeah.
everyone here at Hot Chips. Are you playing Uncharted? What do you think? Are you going to pick it up? Maybe like and subscribe this video if you found what we had to say even vaguely interesting. And we'll see you next time.